I wanted to write an important book. I thought if I'm going to write a book, if I'm going to spend like 5 months or 6 months or a year writing a book, I would quite like it to be important. And I used as the catchphrase that I had in my head, the catchphrase from the 1986 John Landis film, The Blues Brothers, wherein John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, they used to be raised in an orphanage and they're now grown up, and the orphanage is going to be closed down, and they decide that they're going to reform their rock and roll band and earn enough money to keep the orphanage going. And their catchphrase throughout the whole thing is, "We're on a mission from God to save this orphanage." But within 10 minutes of the film starting, you realise they're not really on a mission from God at all. They just want to have fun and drive around and crash cars and get off with Carrie Fisher and sing Respect with Aretha Franklin. But they still think they're on a mission from God. So all the way through I was thinking, I'm on a mission from God, I'm going to resurrect feminism, I'm really on an important mission from God. But really what I was doing was crashing a lot of cars and getting off with Carrie Fisher and singing Respect with Aretha Franklin. I just had a hoot writing it because there's still so little written about being a woman that's honest, or that I'd read anyway. I mean, I think that I'm the only person that's written a book that in the first 3 opening chapters talks about the first time you menstruate, the growing of a pubic hair, having that pubic hair pointed at by your mother, you trying to distract attention from your pubic hair by going, look, Bergerac is on the television. And then talking about masturbating for the first time whilst thinking about Chevy Chase in The Three Amigos. And I didn't really realise how frank I was, so unusually frank I was being, until some people read it and went, oh, you're being very brave, which is always a very scary sentence for a writer to hear. I basically admit I wouldn't have done that. Good luck with that, my friend. But as a comedy writer, if there's stuff that hasn't been written about before, you're kind of looking at it like you're on an open goal and you're kind of running towards the goal going, hang on, has no one really written about masturbating when you're 13? Has no one really written about menstruating and kind of, all these things? And you're like, well, I get all the jokes first. I've got a clear shot on goal. I can go for it first. So it was thrilling to realise that that just simply by being scared, other women being scared, that I had an open shot on all this material.
But it's not just a memoir, is it? Can you hear me? Sorry, is there a funny booming noise coming? Yeah, there's a very strange, I don't know if there's any sound experts in the room, but there's a kind of booming.
I think it's the sound of my heart, Kath. I think I'm one of those women who love too much, and you can hear my huge heart beating.
Well, it's stopped now anyway. So, but it's not just a memoir, is it? It's political.
Yes. Well, that just sort of goes back to the idea of, I did want to write kind of, I do a bit. I think the best way to put it, the best sentence to phrase it is, I do a bit want to totally change the world. Kind of, I don't want to be all kind of rah, Che Guevara, because that's a bit scary. But I did want to change the world a bit. I just kind of, I was astonished that the word feminist and feminism had become unused, or even a bad word. You would kind of go and ask the stats on it, but if you ask most women, young women, if they're feminists, they would go no. And then you'd say, well, what, you don't want to vote, and you don't want to be able to own property, and you don't want to be in charge of your life, and you don't want to be in control of your sexuality and your reproductive rights? And they go, well, yeah, all of that. And you go, well, that's feminism, that's being a feminist, doesn't mean anything other than that. I get quite angry when people go, feminism means more than that it means better than being a man. Or kind of, and it's sort of, that's the argument about feminism, isn't it? Everybody has a different view of feminism, but for me, feminism is simply being equal to men. Not better, but just equal. Different, but equal. And it seemed a very simple thing, and I just wanted to write a book that just kind of pointed out that it's as simple as that. It's not like the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme. I can remember you'd have to complete modules or climb a mountain. For ages I just sort of thought, oh, well, I'll be a feminist in a bit. I mean, I knew I was a feminist, but it was like, I'll be a proper feminist in a bit. I'll study for it properly. I'll do the proper feminist things in a while. And then when I knew that I wanted to write a book about feminism, I was like, well, I'll have to give it 10 years because I'll just have to go and read some stuff. And then I sort of got to 34 and it was like, well, now I want to do it now. I think if I don't know enough now to say why I think women should be equal, then I've wasted my life. I think you should. What I would really like is for people to now write reply books to it. A book called "How to Really Be a Woman," how to be a woman actually, because that's what we need. Everyone should be kind of having their arguments about what they think being a woman is. I would like everybody to pitch in. I certainly don't want to be the only one out there writing funny books about feminism now. I would hope everybody kind of pitches in. We can have a massive debate about it.
What I felt when I was reading it was a real sort of sense of relief that someone had finally sort of said enough of all this, enough of the kind of higher and higher heels, the smaller and smaller pants, as you describe them, the sort of excessive surgery, the sort of complete hairlessness, because everyone seems to be saying that's all feminist, you can do all those things and be feminist, and you're saying, actually, no, you can't.
No, yeah,
Stop it, enough.
I'm very focused on feminism just being a human as well, and I think it's very difficult for women to just simply be humans, functioning, happy humans, if they essentially see themselves as a massive to-do list of flaws that have to be rectified throughout their entire lives. You know, the world is an essentially joyful place, and you know, when you wake up in the morning, you should just be going, wow, this is amazing, let's just try and have as much fun and be as nice as possible and get on with people and enjoy my life as much as possible. But instead, I think a lot of women have a tendency to wake up and go, I still haven't lost that stone, I've got to find a signature perfume, I should be experimenting with updos as well as downdos. I need to have a capsule wardrobe. I need to go up with a novel birthday party for my child, one that the other kids haven't had, and all these things. And they see themselves as a list of faults and a massive to-do list, all of which always ends, as Alison Pearson put in her book, with must-do pelvic floor exercises. And never getting around to doing them because they just make you feel irritable. You know, one of the ideas in the book was to go, just stop seeing yourself as a list of problems. Just that it's ridiculous. You opt out of. There's that line in The Wire. Just, you know, if you're in the game, you're in the game. You know, if you start playing that game of kind of trying to look perfect and trying to, you know, and having the handbag and having the right clothes and your makeup being perfect and your hair and all this kind of stuff, that's an entirely, you know, you're in that game. That's an entirely different thing to being a human being. It takes up so much time. And also mainly because I'm just scutty and hairy and careless and would rather crack on with something else. And I was becoming increasingly upset by the amount of conversations I was having to have with female friends where they'd just be going on about how much their Brazilians hurt for 2 hours. And it's just like, stop doing this, I can't join in with this conversation, it's boring. So I thought I'll write a book and make everybody grow their hair back. And then
now tell us how many celebrities have contacted you.
I'm keeping a score sheet of celebrities who've tweeted me, who have vowed to or are going to experiment with growing their pubic hair back in the wake of the chapter in the book about growing your pubic hair back. So far, we've got Dawn Porter,
who cancelled her Brazilian appointment, having read the book.
Yes, Davina McCall is going to spend a month experimenting with hair before making a final decision. It makes me happy. Next time I see these ladies on the red carpet, I'll just be like, yes, yes.
All the way to their knees.
Oh, yes, that's what I like to see.
I mean, there's a great bit in your book when you're talking to a friend and she's thinking that she might get off with someone on Saturday, so she has to have the Brazilian on Wednesday, so there's time for the rash to go down.
The rash to die down, yes, yeah. But you have to time doing the leg waxing a bit before, because if you're going to do the leg wax, then you have to put the fake tan on. And if you've done the leg waxing too recently, then you get the holes that the fake tan falls into and makes you look like you've got massive ginger freckles on your legs. So, I mean, it takes a week to get ready for a Friday night out. You have to wax the legs first and then put the fake tan on, then get the Brazilian done, let the disfiguring rash die down, and then on the day of the date, do moustache and eyebrows. And that's 3 separate events. Just
and as you said, no wonder promiscuity is so rife, because when you've done all of that, you're going to have sex.
Yes. It has cost me £100 to look like this. You will have sex with me. Yeah, no, I genuinely think there might be a correlation in those two statistics. When I go into government, that is one of those tickets.
So you've no regrets about talking about your hairiness, particularly after what Jermaine said, about masturbation?
Yes, well, no, but I mean, about any of it, when I look at the fact that there are so many things that women won't talk about, even to their best friends, or, you know, certainly to kind of, you know, sort of like in general conversation, that are so much part of their lives that you have to spend so much time dealing with. I mean, you know, menstruation, it happens every sodding month. You know, the growing of pubic hair and the management of hair, masturbation, you know, it should be a fairly large part of your life. It's going to keep you sane, and it's certainly cheaper than coming to the Edinburgh Festival. You know, and then again, you know, kind of like in one of the more serious chapters in the book on abortion as well, you know, the statistics on abortion are huge, and if you haven't had one, you will almost certainly know someone who has had one. And when there are all these things that are so common to people's lives, but those people aren't talking about it, you have to think, well, that's probably the behaviour of some people who are a bit oppressed, to keep secrets, to not talk about the reality of your existence, to pretend that your reality is something other than what it is. You realise there's basically women's existences are completely different to what they're projecting or what they're willing to talk about, and that's absolutely bizarre. And so what you need if women are too scared or too shy or too squeamish to talk about these things is someone with absolutely no shame at all who will quite happily sit down and write a book about all these things going rah, 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 rah. No, I don't really get embarrassed about this stuff. I was brought up to feel very ashamed of these things. Our family didn't talk about it, sort of talk about it in the book, kind of, I didn't know, for instance, what would happen when my period started. And we lived down the road from a school, and about 2 months before my period started, by coincidence, someone stuffed the Let's leaflet in the hedge. And I pulled it out of the hedge and looked at it. And first of all, it didn't make any sense at all. It just seemed to be a system of warrens or burrows into which you would put something that looked a bit like a mouse. And it just seemed absolutely, I couldn't work out how that would work at all. And also I thought it was absolutely optional. I just looked at it and went, nah, I don't fancy doing that, no, and then just put the leaflet in a bin. And then I can't remember from where, but I found out it was actually going to happen to me. And I still remember the absolute screaming disbelief and fury when it did start happening. It was like, this is not fair. I am a child. I don't want this at all. This is horrible. I think girls often feel very, very angry when they start their adolescence, because you're still a kid. You don't want this, that's what I put in the book. You don't want this sudden... if you really wanted to screw a child up, you would give it a massive dose of estrogen. Just suddenly and unwarrantedly, without asking for it at all, you suddenly get tits, you're suddenly bleeding. You're having to deal with sanitary towels and tampons, and the way that people treat you is differently. As I say sort of in the book, it's almost like being famous. If you're a girl and you suddenly start growing breasts and developing, suddenly from just being a kid on a skateboard that no one would take any attention to, you're just walking down the street and some builders are going, "Hey, Tits McGee!" And you're like, what? Why are you paying all this attention to me? Why have I now got to be self-conscious and dress because I know other people's gaze is upon me, and live in acknowledgement of the fact that people kind of know who I am because I'm a girl and I'm now growing breasts. I'm kind of sexy and I'm now sort of a target and people will look at me. So it made me furious. I was very, very angry when I became a teenage girl. And I can't remember what the question was, but it was that, yeah. Very much so. Very much so. And then I finished the chapter like this and wrote another one.
You sort of take aim quite a lot in the book at sort of celebrity culture. You'd have one of my favourite lines of the last 2 years when you describe Jordan as Vichy France with tits. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Well, I mean, it's not so much. I mean, I kind of almost feel bad about the Jordan chapter, because when I was writing, you realise how quickly things change in the celebrity world, but there were a variety of serious pieces written. In fact, the Times did one, I think probably the Guardian did as well, because we were all at it for a while, of pieces where journalists would put forward the theory that Jordan might actually be a feminist role model, simply because she earned a lot of money. I mean, that did seem to be what it boiled down to, but I couldn't understand the logic of this at all, because if you're earning money by pandering to sexism, if you're a woman earning your money by pandering to sexism, then you are Vichy France with tits. You are, to paraphrase actually that's too sweary, isn't it? I can't do that other line that's in there. That's probably too sweary. But yes, that's what you are. And I also, I mean, I did a thing in a school recently where you kind of turn up as a writer and you try and inspire people, and they just sit there going. And I was talking to all the teenage girls about who their role models were, and they almost all said Katie Price. And that really, really dispirited me hugely. They couldn't really sort of name anyone else, and they just liked the fact that she was rich. And they didn't see, I had to spend a week with her for a feature, and just walking around with her, I was just thinking, even if she had made all of her money by sort of completely betraying, the notions of kind of, female sexuality, properly expressed happy female sexuality and all this kind of stuff, even if she'd made her money by pandering to sexism, if she was happy and living a functional life, then I would probably be fine with her and I wouldn't bother writing the chapter. But she was the most miserable bitch I've ever spent time with. Oh, God. She cold, dead basilisk eyes. She treated everyone like an asshole. There was this kind of sighing, kind of, oh God, do I really have to do this kind of thing about getting into a limousine in a huge dress and talking to people and trying to sell her lingerie range to people. She was incredibly rude. There was an amazing moment where the model Caprice walked past and she just went, "She's so false." Which I found extraordinary. There was also another amazing exchange where she was talking about how she judged celebrities on whether they had good-looking nannies for their children. She was like, "We've got a good-looking nanny because I know Peter Andre, her then-husband at the time, number one. I know he wouldn't have sex with her. But if you look at Victoria and David Beckham, all their nannies are ugly. Because she knows David will fuck them if they're not." And again, what an amazing worldview to have, just checking out their nannies in order to work out if a marriage is working well or not. And also, and on top of all of that, I think my main problem with her, again, I don't really care about all of that, but it's her kids. I could now recognise Junior Andre from 500 yards away with a bag on his head, because he is roped into every single photo shoot she ever does. She did an amazing lingerie photo shoot for OK, where she was dressed up like a streetwalker with makeup out to here and just in a bra and the pants that she designed, leaning over a car in a kind of sexy way, with her 2 children on either side of her, just kind of staring at mummy in her knickers and bra, looking all sexy at the camera. And in Victorian times, if a woman had to take her children to work with her, then we invented the state in order to give her benefits and say you don't need to put your kids up a chimney. But now this middle-class multimillionairess is like roping her kids into her work every day, and meaning that they will never be anonymous, that they will always be famous, they will always be chased by people, that they'll never be able to have proper friends because their friends will be going, oh look, I know Peter Andre's kid, I can tell a story about this. Everything she does is wrong. I'm very angry about her. I'm furious. I'm going to write another chapter about it.
And you also take aim at surgery, plastic surgery, Botox, which has become very normalised very quickly.
Yes. I quite like Botox because it almost sounds like buttocks, and the idea that people are injecting buttocks into their faces makes me quite happy. But it also is, that's what it makes your face look like after a while. It does just look a bit bummy. Yeah, I couldn't work out. I mean, it was all sort of worky stuff out, and I was like, in my guts, and I don't really like people to go, my gut feeling is that this is wrong, because that was what David Cameron said about proportional representation, wasn't it? He just went, I just feel in my guts it's wrong. It's like, I really would like you to have slightly more stats on that. Maybe would have liked you to research that, maybe read something about it rather than a tickly feeling in your tum-tum. But I did have a gut feeling that the plastic surgery was wrong, not least because it costs so much and it hurts, which are usually 2 very good reasons for not doing anything at all. But it was I went to an awards ceremony, and it was kind of where the great and the good were gathered, and it was the sort of, and I was nervous about going there. It was the first kind of big thing that I'd ever gone to, kind of big showbiz thing, and I knew there were going to be lots of older, very distinguished, very wealthy women who were kind of amazing in their careers there, and I was like, oh, I'm just still a little squitty kid, I'm going to turn up here. I'm kind of embarrassed about being around them. And I turned up, and instead of being kind of like astonished by their power and their confidence, I was astonished by the fact that they all had very visibly had work done on their faces, and that made them look scared, because they were standing next to their husbands and around their co-workers, male, who had had nothing done to their faces at all, yet having completely parallel careers and being equally rich and equally powerful. And the men were standing there confidently with their faces, all growing up and turning into great big wizards with huge beards and massive wrinkles, and the women were standing next to them, having spent thousands and thousands of pounds, still trying to look like they were 35, and it not working, and it being obvious that they'd had stuff done. So hang on, one of the recurring phrases in the book is, if you're worried, if you think that some sexism might be happening, the question you have to ask yourself is, are the boys doing it? Are the men doing this? Are the men having to deal with this kind of bullshit? And it was very clear in that room of incredibly successful people, incredibly talented people, who should be incredibly confident, that all the men hadn't had anything done, and nearly all of the women had. And that made me think, that is, why are women spending their pension money, or their fun money, or their jewels money, or their cheese money, or their hats money on having massively painful injections in their faces that you notice as well? I mean, even the most subtle, I got a friend who went to America, one of the most right-on feminists I know, an incredible woman, went to America, came back, and she'd had all, I'll tell you what it is later. But you'll have noticed, because it was obvious. And she just came back, and it was like, because she'd been in LA and she'd forgotten what normal faces looked like. She'd had her lips done, she'd had that kind of weird cheeky thing done. And all of her friends, when she walked in the room, were like, hi! Didn't know what to say, couldn't make any mention of it. And that's another reason why I wanted to write about it, because you know when your friends have had stuff done, but we all feel we can't mention it. And I kind of wanted it to get to the point where we could mention it again, where you could just go, I love you to bits, but you look weird. You've done a really weird thing to your face that cost you lots of money. Why have you done that? And again, women can't do it. You know, it's now got to a point of etiquette where women will not say to their friends who've had something cosmetic done. Certainly not in my polite, slightly uptight circle anyway. You have noticed you've had something done to your face, why did you do that? And again, if women aren't willing to talk about the fact that they've had this stuff done and go, it seems to have gone quite wrong, dude, I'd let that drain out and maybe not replenish that one, then that again seems really wrong, and that's why I wanted to write about that as well.